Hello everyone. In this lecture I am gonna explain line by line the famous essay, of Studies, written by Francis Bacon, but before I explain it, if you are new to my channel then please like the video and subscribe the channel. Let's start it. Studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. Alright students, what Bacon is saying here is that studies have three main purposes. First, they bring us joy. They can be entertaining, like when you read a good book or learn something fascinating just for fun. Second, they add to your personality, making you more engaging in conversations, kind of like how knowing fun facts or ideas makes you interesting to talk to. Third, they make you better at practical tasks and skilled in handling responsibilities. So, studies aren't just about books, they shape your life in three important ways. Basically, you can say that he starts this essay directly with main functions of the study. It means study is done for delight, by delight means for entertainment. And then says it is also done for ornament, by ornament means that it makes your conversation interesting. Simply, if you read many books then you will have beautiful words and expression learned from the reading, and then says it is also done for ability. And then says, their chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring, for ornament, is in discourse, and for ability, is in the judgment and disposition of business. Now in these lines he explains it in detail and saying, studies are most enjoyable in your private time, simply you can say like reading a novel in peace or exploring an idea when you're alone. And for ornament, he means that studies make you better at conversations, so you can contribute smartly to discussions. And for ability, he is saying that studies are practical, they help you make decisions and organize tasks effectively, like when managing work or life challenges. Simply, he is trying to say that study is not done only for the sake of study but it gives us a lot of things which make our life beautiful. For expert men can execute, and perhaps judge of particulars, one by one. In this line Bacon is making a clear distinction between an expert and a learned man. Actually, think of an expert as someone who is highly skilled in a specific area, like a surgeon, a programmer, or an engineer. These people are brilliant at carrying out tasks that require precision and knowledge in their field. They can also judge specific problems related to their expertise, like diagnosing a patient or fixing a coding bug. However, their focus is usually narrow. They look at tasks or problems, one by one. Simply you can say that the expert of anything has a limited knowledge about the specific area but he can judge and fix the related problem one by one. And then says, but the general counsels, and the plots and marshalling of affairs, come best from those that are learned. It means that when it comes to bigger decisions, like running a company or planning a big project, you need someone who has studied deeply and understands the broader picture. Studies help you see the big picture and connect the dots, which is crucial for leadership and strategic planning. Simply, you can say an expert has a limited knowledge about a specific area of field but a reader has the ability to manage things, take bigger and decisions. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. In this line he is warning against overindulging in studying to the point where it becomes laziness. Simply, he's saying that if someone spends all their time reading or learning but never takes action, it's as useless as being idle. The purpose of study isn't just to gather knowledge, it's to apply it in real life. You can say, if you spend all your time studying and never take action, you'll become lazy. That's not the point of learning. To use them too much for ornament, is affectation. Here, he is criticizing people who display their knowledge just to impress others. If you study only to sound clever or to show off in conversations, it becomes affectation, or pretentiousness. Knowledge should be used meaningfully, not as a way to gain attention or admiration. Simply, he's saying if you study to show, just decorate your conversation and make people impressed, then this is called affectation. Affectation means pretentiousness or showiness. To make judgment wholly by their rules, is the humor of a scholar. This part cautions against relying entirely on book knowledge or theoretical rules when making decisions. Bacon says it's the humor of a scholar, meaning a typical mistake of overly academic people, to judge situations strictly by the rules they've learned, without considering practical realities. Simply, you can say when you learn something in a book and then you try to take decision on the basis of learning rules is not good. It is essential to observe the realities. They perfect nature, and are perfected by experience. In this line he is saying that studies improve our natural abilities, our inborn talents and instincts. However, for studies to be truly effective, they need to be complemented by real-world experience. Without experience, the knowledge gained through study remains incomplete. Here nature refers to our natural abilities, which are perfected by study and experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants, that need pruning. By study, here Bacon tries to compare our natural abilities to wild plants that grow chaotically if left alone. Just as pruning shapes a plant and removes its unnecessary parts, studying shapes and refines our talents. Without study, our abilities might remain untamed and unproductive. Simply, as a plant seems beautiful after pruning, so talent after study. And studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. In this line he warns that studies can sometimes offer knowledge that is too broad, theoretical, or impractical. This is where experience becomes crucial. It bounds or limits studies, turning abstract knowledge into applicable skills. Basically, he gives emphasis to study, but he says that the learned things should be applied. The reason is that study gives us a lot of knowledge, but experience makes it limited and valuable. Crafty men condemn studies. In this line he begins by saying that cunning or deceitful people tend to criticize studies, because they rely on manipulation and trickery to achieve their goals, and they consider genuine learning as a waste of time. They dismiss the value of studying because they prioritize quick, often dishonest, gains over intellectual growth. Simple men admire them. On the other hand, simple men, those who lack depth or critical thinking, blindly admire studies. They think of education as something grand and inspiring, but they don't truly understand its purpose or practical application. Their admiration is superficial. And wise men use them. In this part Bacon contrasts the first two groups with wise individuals, who know how to make practical use of their studies. They don't just dismiss or admire learning, they actively apply it to solve problems, make decisions, and improve their lives or society. For wise people, studies are a tool for action, not an abstract concept. For they teach not their own use, but that is a wisdom without them, and above them, won by observation. Now in this part he is making an important point. He is trying to say that studies themselves don't teach you how to use the knowledge they offer. That skill, knowing when and how to apply what you've learned, comes from wisdom, which is developed through life experience and observation. Learning gives you tools, but it's up to you to figure out how to use them. Simply, it is up to you that how you benefit from the study. Otherwise a study does not teach you how to be used the given knowledge. Read not to contradict and confute. It means that here Bacon warns us not to approach reading with a combative mindset. Some people read books only to find faults or prove the author wrong. This approach is unproductive because it focuses on criticism rather than understanding or learning. Instead of always looking for arguments to refute, approach reading with an open mind and a willingness to learn. Nor to believe and take for granted. On the other hand, he advises against blindly accepting everything you read as true. Just because something is written in a book doesn't mean it's beyond question. Readers should critically evaluate the content rather than passively absorbing it. Simply, you should not take things for granted. Nor to find talk and discourse. It means some people read merely to gather material for conversations or to sound knowledgeable. Bacon discourages this shallow approach. Reading shouldn't be about impressing others but about gaining genuine understanding. But to weigh and consider. It means instead, approach reading thoughtfully, like a judge weighing evidence. Read to analyze and understand deeply, not for superficial reasons. Some books are to be tasted. Bacon uses a metaphor here to describe different approaches to reading books, depending on their content and purpose. He says that some books are like appetizers, they're meant to be sampled or skimmed briefly. These books may offer entertainment, light information, or surface-level insights that don't require deep engagement. Simply, you can say that he is comparing books to food. Some books are light reading, you just taste them, reading a little here and there. Others to be swallowed. It means that other books are meant to be read completely but not deeply analyzed. These are books that provide straightforward information or narratives you can consume without extensive contemplation. And some few to be chewed and digested. It means that there are few books which require deep reading and reflection. These books are like a rich meal that needs to be savored, understood, and fully absorbed. They offer profound insights or complex ideas that deserve your time and attention. You can say there are some special books deserve your full attention. You chew and digest them, reading slowly and carefully to absorb every bit of meaning. Think about how you choose books. Not every book is worth the same amount of effort. Some books are to be read only in parts. This means that certain books don't need to be read from start to finish. You can extract value from specific sections or chapters, depending on what you're looking for. These are books where the whole text may not be relevant or useful to your purpose. Others to be read, but not curiously. Bacon is advising against reading some books with excessive scrutiny or detail. These books can be read casually or for general understanding without deep focus. They provide straightforward knowledge or entertainment that doesn't require detailed examination. Simply, you can say that he is trying to say that some books are to be read and they don't require excessive detail. And then says, and some few to be read wholly, and with diligence and attention. It means that few books deserve your full engagement. These are significant works that require careful and thorough reading to grasp their depth. Such books often contain ideas or insights that can shape your thinking or provide valuable lessons. You can say that some books should be read completely with full attention, but not all books should be given the same attention. Actually, he's teaching us how to prioritize what we read. Some books also may be read by deputy, and extracts made of them by others. Here, Bacon suggests that for less critical or less valuable books, it is acceptable to have someone else read and summarize them for you. This is like outsourcing the effort to another person, who provides you with the key points or highlights. Simply, you can say that some books are not meant to be read by you because you can also do it by others, and they will tell you the main points of them. Here deputy means an assistant, and extract means the summary. So here he is trying to tell us that the information of some books can be summarized to us by others. And the says, but that would be only in the less important arguments, and the meaner sort of books. However, in this line Bacon advises that this approach should only be applied to books that are not particularly significant or profound. These meaner sort of books are those of lower intellectual value or those dealing with trivial topics that don't demand close attention. Simply, you can say that the summary of some books told by others to us is not always acceptable. Actually, he is trying to say that only this method will be applied to the books which are not very significant. Else distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. In this line he cautions against relying too much on summaries or abridged versions of important works. These distilled books lose the richness, depth, and nuance of the original. Just as distilled water lacks the flavor and complexity of natural spring water, summaries often strip away the substance that makes a book valuable. Reading mocketh a full man. In this line he suggests that reading enriches the mind and broadens one's knowledge and understanding. A full man is someone well-rounded, informed, and cultured. Actually, reading exposes you to a diversity of ideas, perspectives, and subjects, helping you think more deeply and comprehensively. Imagine a student who reads widely, novels, history, science, and philosophy. This habit gives them a broad knowledge base, enabling them to connect ideas from different fields and contribute meaningfully to conversations. Such a person is intellectually full and well-rounded. Conference a ready man. By conference, Bacon means conversation, discussion, or debate. Engaging in dialogue gives you ability to think quickly, articulate your ideas clearly, and respond to challenges effectively. A ready man is someone who can handle interactions and debates with confidence and wit. Actually, think of someone who regularly participates in discussions, whether in meetings or casual debates. Over time, they become better at presenting their arguments persuasively and responding to opposing views. They develop mental agility and readiness in communication. And writing an exact man. In this line Bacon asserts that writing refines one's thoughts and brings precision to them. The act of writing forces you to organize your ideas, clarify your reasoning, and present your points logically. An exact man is someone whose thinking is disciplined and whose ideas are clearly expressed. Simply, these three skills, reading, discussing, and writing, are the pillars of intellectual growth. And therefore, if a man write little, he had need have a great memory. In this line he is trying to say that writing helps solidify and preserve ideas. If a person doesn't write, they must rely entirely on their memory to retain and recall information. Without the habit of recording their thoughts, they risk forgetting important details. In simple words you can say that if a man does not write something which he gains from a book, that he needs to have a strong memory. Why he has to have a strong memory? Because he needs to remember the learned materials. And then says, if he confer little, he had need have a present wit. It means that discussing ideas sharpens quick thinking and the ability to articulate thoughts. If a person avoids discussions or debates, they must rely on their present wit, meaning their natural ability to think and respond on the spot. Without practice, their interactions might seem clumsy or slow. Just take the example of someone who rarely participates in team meetings or debates. When suddenly required to explain their ideas, they might struggle to respond confidently unless they naturally have sharp, quick thinking skills. And if he read little, he had need have much cunning, to seem to know that he doth not. It means that a person who reads little has limited knowledge but may try to appear informed. In this case, they must rely on cunning or cleverness to hide their lack of understanding and create an illusion of knowledge. Simply it means that if you don't read much, you'll need cleverness to hide your ignorance. The message is that it's better to practice all three rather than relying on compensations. Histories make men wise. It means that studying history provides perspective and insight into human nature, decision-making, and the rise and fall of events or civilizations. It teaches lessons from the past that can guide actions in the present and future. Wisdom comes from understanding the causes and consequences of actions over time. For example, a leader who studies history avoids repeating mistakes made by others in governance or strategy. For instance, understanding the causes of economic recessions in the past can help policymakers make better decisions today. Poet's witty, it means reading poetry sharpens one's wit, creativity, and sense of beauty. Poets use language with precision, rhythm, and imagination, encouraging readers to think in nuanced and symbolic ways. Poetry also fosters emotional intelligence and a playful use of words. The mathematics subtle, mathematics trains the mind in precision, logic, and abstract thinking. It cultivates subtlety by developing the ability to understand complex relationships and solve intricate problems systematically. Natural philosophy deep, natural philosophy, what we now call science, deepens our understanding of the natural world. It cultivates a sense of curiosity, wonder, and profound thinking by exploring fundamental truths about existence, matter, and the universe. Moral grave refers to the study of morality which fosters a serious and reflective nature. It teaches individuals to consider ethical principles and the weight of their actions. Moral studies encourage a grounded and thoughtful approach to life's decisions. Logic and rhetoric able to contend, logic trains the mind to reason clearly and systematically, while rhetoric develops the ability to persuade and argue effectively. Together, these disciplines prepare individuals to engage in debates, defend their views, and challenge opposing ideas skillfully. Basically, logic and rhetoric teach us to argue effectively. Here Bacon is showing how every subject has a unique contribution to our growth. Abunt studia in mores. You should not be confused about this short phrase, and this is a Latin language phrase which means that what you study influences your behavior and character. In other words, you can say, the subjects you focus on shape how you think, act, and even perceive the world. So, choose your studies wisely, they leave a mark on you. Nay, there is no stone or impediment in the wit but may be wrought out by fit studies. Bacon uses the metaphor of a stone or impediment to describe obstacles in a person's intellectual capabilities, such as lack of focus, poor reasoning skills, or weak analytical ability. He says that such issues can be resolved with fit studies, meaning specific types of learning addresses the particular problem. Suppose someone struggles with logical thinking. Studying mathematics or logic can help them develop a more structured way of reasoning. Similarly, someone with poor communication skills might improve by studying rhetoric or public speaking. Like as diseases of the body may have appropriate exercises. Bacon refers to physical ailments or conditions, such as stiffness, weakness, or pain, that require care and treatment. These diseases symbolize problems in the physical realm that can hinder normal functioning. Actually, he believes that mental flaws or weaknesses can be fixed through the right kind of study, just as physical exercise can heal certain bodily issues. For example, if someone is disorganized or unfocused, the right discipline can help them improve. He's offering hope that no intellectual problem is permanent. Bowling is good for the stone and reins. Bowling was a popular sport in Bacon's time which involved physical movement and bending, which was believed to help prevent or alleviate kidney stones and promote health in the lower back or kidneys. The exercise presumably aided circulation and physical flexibility. Shooting for the lungs and breast. Again, he uses shooting here to refer to an activity like archery or rifle shooting, which involves deep breathing and requires strong, controlled lung function. This exercise could help strengthen the lungs and chest muscles, improving respiratory health. Gentle walking for the stomach. Walking was seen as an exercise that aids digestion and promotes overall health. The gentle movement of walking stimulates the digestive system, making it particularly effective for stomach health. Actually, even today, doctors recommend light walking after meals to help digestion and reduce bloating. Riding for the head, and the like. In this case, Bacon is referring to horseback riding, which provides movement and rhythm that can help relieve tension, stress, and even improve mental clarity. The physical movement of riding stimulates the body and can help with blood flow to the head, alleviating stress and headaches. Actually, Bacon draws an analogy between mental exercises and physical exercises. Just as specific physical activities benefit different parts of the body and different studies target and strengthen specific mental faculties. This analogy helps us see how study can act as exercise for the mind. So if a man's would be wandering, this refers to someone whose mind tends to drift or lacks focus. They may find it hard to stay on task or concentrate on a single topic for an extended period. Simply, you can say that if someone has a concentration problem, let him study the mathematics. Bacon prescribes the study of mathematics as a cure for this lack of mental discipline. Mathematics requires attention to detail, logical reasoning, and the ability to follow step-by-step processes without skipping any part. Engaging with it can train the mind to focus more effectively. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away never so little, he must begin again. It means that mathematics relies heavily on demonstrations, proofs or logical sequences where each step builds on the previous one. If a person's attention wavers, they lose track of the sequence and are forced to start over. This characteristic of math inherently disciplines the mind, as it demands sustained focus. If his wit be not apt to distinguish or find differences, this refers to someone who lacks the ability to identify subtle distinctions in arguments, concepts, or situations. Such a person might oversimplify issues, fail to appreciate complexities, or miss critical details when analyzing information. Simply, it means that if someone has the problem to distinguish the differences, let him study the schoolmen. Bacon advises that such a person should study the works of the schoolmen. And schoolmen were scholars of the Middle Ages. Actually, these scholars were associated with scholasticism. And scholasticism was a method of critical thought that emphasized debate and detailed analysis of theological and philosophical issues. Their work often involved breaking down arguments into their smallest components to scrutinize every aspect. For they are simini sectors. In this line again Bacon uses the Latin term simini sectors, which means splitters of hairs. Actually, he tries to highlight the extreme attention to detail and subtlety that characterized the schoolmen's reasoning. They were known for dissecting even trivial or minute points, sometimes to an excessive degree. Actually, he recommends studying the schoolmen if someone has a problem in distinguishing things or ideas, because their work involves analyzing tiny details, which is perfect training for sharpening this mental skill. If he be not apt to beat over matters, and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study the lawyer's cases. If someone isn't good at drawing connections or using examples to support arguments, Bacon suggests studying legal cases. Lawyers are trained to connect evidence and principles, which makes legal study a great way to develop this skill. So every defect of the mind may have a special receipt. Bacon's conclusion is optimistic. Finally, he says that every mental weakness has a remedy. Just as there are exercises for physical ailments, there are specific studies to improve every intellectual flaw. His advice is practical and encouraging. You just need to choose the right medicine for your mind. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, but please don't forget like and subscription to my channel. Thank you.